So, our last main topic I wanted to talk about that relates to the introduction, is the issue of control. And I can't seem to control my slides, so that's an interesting accidental related thing. So, when we talk about autonomy, what we're really getting at is the desire for personal control over ourself in particular, right? Because autonomy literally means self-control or control over ourselves. But personal control includes that plus maybe some degree of like restraint, being able to withstand, like things that you might want to do that you know aren't the best thing for you to do, those kinds of things. So there's more to personal control than just autonomy. So when you think about like some of the adolescent disagreements that you might have had with your parents, some of them might have been big, meaningful disagreements. So please don't think I'm minimizing any angst or maybe very bad things that might have happened in adolescence. But for a lot of us, when we were adolescents, we were disagreeing with our parents over things like when to complete our chores. I of course was a perfect adolescent, so I don't have any personal examples about me disagreeing with my parents. Ha ha ha. But I will throw my daughter under the bus because she was a perfect example of like an adolescent that was trying to exert personal control by resisting the three main chores that she had to complete. Her jobs were to empty the dishwasher, take the compost out to the compost pile, and feed the dogs at 5 p.m. My son fed the dogs in the morning. So, three things that were like time constraint things. The dishwasher, it was only a time constraint if it was clean. It was, dinner time and we want the dishes. But otherwise, it wasn't like super big pressure, but she needed to do it when the can of compost was full. She needed to empty the dishwasher when the dishwasher was full, and she needed to feed the dogs at 5 p.m. Okay. That girl would drag her feet like you would not believe on all three of those things. I'd say the compost bin is full, and she'd say, okay, I'll get at it. And, full day has passed. She's not doing it. And you know what? I forgot. Okay, maybe you forgot, maybe. But when I mentioned it to you and all you were doing was reading, you could have certainly put your book down and taken care of it, couldn't you have? So why doesn't she? Why doesn't she just get up and empty it, right? Well, the reason why all of us didn't do it, because you know what? I will get up and empty it when my personal control instincts tell me that enough time has passed so it won't look like I'm doing it because you told me to, right? I will do it when it looks like I've chosen to do it. So adolescent disagreements, if you distill it down like that, a lot of times the really big arguments that we've had with our parents, or that we as parents have had with our children, has started as basically a battle of wills, right? One of us wants something done and the other one of us doesn't feel like being told what to do. That's really basically a battle of wills. And what we're getting at is sort of like locus of control. To what extent do we think that we are in charge of our outcomes? So if we go to page 13 of our PDF, so I'm going to show you how you can just type 13 in here. Whoops, I think I hit too many numbers. There we go. So it hops right down to page 13. And this is a locus of control scale. Again, these are nice brief scales. So you should take them, score them, and see how you're falling on these issues. This one you will be able to take from the screen because apparently I can show except for my face is covering up the bottom two. Oh, my face is in the way. Let's see if I can turn me off. You might still have red marks. I'm not sure if you see those red marks or not. Oh, there you go. I think I made those go away in case they were there too. So now you can see it. So you can pause me and do it right off the screen if you want. Okay, in case you did that, you're hopefully back. Or go find your book and pause me and complete it in your book. So 10 items, hopefully you've taken it, and now we can discuss what they mean. So locus of control, they called it personal efficacy for the purposes of this scale, and that can be really useful. But the personal efficacy or locus of control scale is really getting at what do you think is determining your outcomes? What is the locus or the location or the center of control for your outcomes? So there are really two ways to end up scoring on the locus of control scale. You have people who are what we call internally locused and people who are externally locused. Internally locused people tend to think that their outcomes are the result of their own effort and their own tenacity. Tenacity is a great word to describe what it takes to get through college. It is the stick-to-itiveness that keeps you going even in the face of challenge or difficulties in tasks. So a person who's internally locused thinks, well, if I exert enough effort and I display enough tenacity, I will ultimately get where I want to go. Now, one of the things I've noticed when I administer that scale in class is that college students tend to score leaning towards or really solidly in the internal side. They tend to be on average internally locused. And part of the reason for that is it's really tough to stick with college, certainly to the point where you're taking a 400 level class in college, right? You've really shown an internal locus to be able to persist at what is a very difficult task. Not everybody can complete college. 2/3 of people who start never finish. And so this is a task that's difficult. It's a task that takes a lot of time. And so a person who's at the point of taking a 400 level class probably at least leans on the internal locus of control side. So that might be true for you. I find that most of my students tend to score on that side, but not all. Some people tend to lean towards the external, and they really think that their outcomes are due to powerful others. The structure of the system is what's determining my outcomes. Back in the 70s, they used to say the man. The man determines my outcome. That's like another way of saying, sort of whoever's in charge, whoever's setting up these systems is what's determining my outcome. They might say fate has determined my outcome, and like sort of my whole life has already been predetermined by fate. So there's not really a lot of point in trying to do something else because it's already fated to be the way that it's supposed to be. Some people will say that the powerful other might be God. And so these would be all external attributions. And so no matter how much effort I put in, no matter how much tenacity I might want to display, it doesn't matter because it's already been determined or somebody else is in charge of my outcome. And so people who are really powerfully externally locused probably aren't in college on average because it's really difficult to put together the notion of, well, I'll put the effort in, but it's already been predetermined. Or I'll put the effort in, but powerful others are going to either make sure it works for me or that it doesn't work for me no matter how hard I try. So you can kind of see why most of my students tend to be in the internal side. And that might explain why you're on the internal side. Why you're in college, you're on the internal side. So locus of control is one way to measure how a person kind of views the value of effort and trying, right? Now, Langer back in 1975 really pointed out that internally locused people might carry around with them the illusion of control. They may be out of control and maybe powerful others or fate is really determining their outcomes, but they're carrying around with them this belief that they're in control. And so it keeps them persisting and stuff like that, but they're not really in charge of their outcomes. That's kind of a scary thought if you're an internally locused person because you're like, wait, no, I'm in charge of my outcomes. But Langer argues maybe it's an illusion. Maybe you don't really have control over your outcomes. He pointed to things like superstitious behavior. I don't know if you've ever noticed that sometimes athletes engage in superstitious behavior. Here's a pitcher who he believed that he was pitching well because he one time had jumped over the baseline as he was leaving the field. And so he thought, I have to jump over the baseline or my good pitching is going to go away. So that's a very superstitious behavior, right? So he was doing this weird thing where he's jumping over the baseline every time he exited the field. Other athletes might not change their socks for the entire season, or they have to wear a particular belt, or they have to have a certain thing that they eat prior to the game. It's really common with athletes to have these kinds of superstitious beliefs because they don't know what's causing the good outcome. They're one step away from getting the yips where they can't hit anymore or they can't make a basket anymore. And so they're just doing whatever they've been doing so that they won't bring on the yips by changing one other thing. And so superstitions, and we see this with babies who don't yet have enough understanding of object permanence that they don't know what's making their parents come back. And so they may go through a whole bunch of unrelated behaviors trying to reconjure their parents. Dogs do it too. We call that anxiety behavior in dogs. But, they oftentimes will do a lot of behaviors that, like the last thing they were doing right before their owner came back the last time, they may go through a series of trying, well, is this what made them come back? Is this what made them come back? It's superstitious behavior, and it's an illusion of control. A lot of times we do these behaviors to make ourselves feel like we're in control so that we can avoid depressive thoughts. If we acknowledge that no matter how hard I try, random bad things happen, the yips come on. If we had acknowledged that I don't know when my parent is coming back, you can imagine that would be a little depressing, and you might just give up, and you might say, the world is unpredictable, I can't cope. And so one of the things that the illusion of control might do for us, according to Langer, is it may make us feel more optimistic. It may make us feel like it's worth trying, it's worth getting up, stuff like that. So I thought I would share with you this quote. Consider the fish. A fish swims in a chaotic sea that it cannot possibly control, much as we all do. The fish, unlike us, is under no illusion that it controls the sea or other fish in the sea. The fish doesn't even try to control where it ends up. It just swims, either going with the flow or dealing with the flow as it comes. It eats and hides and mates, but does not try to control a thing. We are no better than that fish, yet our thinking creates the need for an illusion. Let go of that thinking. Learn to be that fish. I don't know how many of you needed to hear that right now. I always need to hear this. I always believe that if I try hard enough, if I plan hard enough, if I worry enough, I can be in control of things. But I don't know if I have any more control than this fish does, so maybe I should just let it go. Let it go, be the fish. If you're interested in this kind of advice or this kind of quote, I have this URL for you that I'll also put in our module so you can find it more easily. It's called zenhabits.net, and there's a whole subsection under the title of control. So throughout class, I'll be giving you things that you can work on that are available as little tasks that you can try. And that's the Zen Habits website is a really good one. So initiative and human values. Okay, so there's another scale for you to take. It's on page 19 of our PDF. And it is looking at your desire or drive for, there it is. Personal growth initiative, like your desire or drive for personal growth. Only has 9 items, so it's an easy, quick one to take. You'll notice they almost all have Likert scales. It's important, I'm going to tell you one more thing about Likert scales. It's important to read the scale because they are not de facto always the same. Sometimes one means that you're disagreeing. Sometimes it might mean that you're agreeing. So make sure that you look at it. And then you'll notice they have different numbers on them. Like this one is ranging from 1 to 6. The previous one that we had ranged from 1 to 7. In the ones that have odd numbers, then you end up with a true neutral in the middle. This one has an even number, and so you don't really get to pick a neutral. You have to be on one side or the other. It's kind of forcing you to like pick sides. So always check the Likert scale before you start answering. You might start to feel like, well, I've done this a million times. They're all the same, and they aren't necessarily the same. So you can go through and do the personal growth initiative scale. Using your book and scoring it to see sort of where you lean on this particular concept. And you're going to be leaning one side or the other because that's how it's designed and it forces you to. So people who, so stop me before you, and take the scale before I ruin it for you. because now I'm going to ruin it. So people who score high on this particular scale tend to have higher scores on well-being measures. They tend to have higher scores on assertiveness measures. They tend to show more of an internal locus of control, and they tend to score higher on measures of what's called instrumentality. Instrumentality is another sort of measure of, how do I want to maybe character, like autonomy, like this idea that you have what it takes to achieve the goal, that you are an instrument, you're not just sort of going along. So higher people who are higher on the striving for personal growth scale tend to have these characteristics along with it. They're correlated. I put this in a smart art that gives us arrows going out from the personal growth scale, but we don't know which direction these arrows should flow. They probably could go either direction. Well-being might cause your striving for personal growth. We're not really sure. So don't take those arrows as like definitive. So initiative and human values, one of our goals in life as humans is to differentiate ourselves, that we carry a personal responsibility for developing our talents and for using our talents, according to positive psychology. Now, I want to qualify that by saying this is a very Western attitude to say that we have a personal responsibility to develop and use our talents. That's a very Western mentality. So if you come from another culture, you might be like, I was not raised to believe this. I notice all of you Americans seem to hold this attitude. It's a Western idea. It's not a universal human striving. But differentiation plus integration, trying to contribute to networks of relationships is another aspect of human striving, right? That we try to be integrated, become part of our community. I pulled this picture that happens to be, I'm on the right, I'm sitting on his lap. That's my son-in-law next to my husband, and that's my daughter. And then my best friend is sitting on her husband's lap on the left, but she got cut off. But we were posted on the website of the organization where we were at the time on this, and said community means a lot. I thought that was a really good picture of, it's true that there are a lot of interactions and, being integrated into the community is a very important value and something that people are very driven towards. And that is a universal human quality. That is not something that is just Western. But if you combine that tendency for differentiation plus that need for integration, you end up in I'm sorry, I have a terrible accent when I try to say Csikszentmihalyi's productive and meaningful life. Csikszentmihalyi is like the originator of the concept of flow, and he was looking really hard, and we're going to talk about him more as the class goes on, but he was the originator of the idea that people are striving to have meaningful and productive lives, and those things are very much dependent on us figuring out who we are and then integrating ourselves with other people so that we can then lead to this productive and meaningful life. All right, so that's what I wanted to say about the intro. And then what I'm going to try to do on each chapter is to give you a positivity exercise that you might want to try. So here's one where maybe you can boost positivity by providing a particular scent in the space that you dwell. So I just thought I'd share with you what theory says different scents will do for you. Vanilla is supposed to help you to be more relaxed and more joyful. So it should be a positive mood, but also make you feel relaxed. Peppermint should energize you and should boost performance. So like if you're doing homework or you're writing a paper or doing something like that, you might want to have the scent of peppermint. Lavender is going to reduce stress, and it actually has been experimentally shown by having lavender versus other scents. It has been experimentally shown that it actually does put you into the kind of alpha waves that will help you to drift off to sleep. So if you have sleep difficulties, you might want to use lavender. Some people will actually put it inside their pillowcase, like get actual lavender flowers, or you can get lavender essence, drip it on your pillowcase, and it will help you to sleep. Cinnamon helps you to remember things. So if you're trying to study for a test, for example, you might want to have cinnamon around. Rosemary is another memory booster, but it also helps with motivation. The smell of rosemary will help you to feel more, I don't want to say energetic, but it kind of is energized toward the goal that you want to achieve. Lemon will help to reduce stress. So smelling lemon will help you to feel less stressed. Orange will help to alleviate anxiety. So if you're stressed and feeling a little anxious, get some citrus together and help reduce that. Cucumber helps to reduce claustrophobia. So if you're feeling like edgy and I need to get out or whatever, but you really can't because you need to be focusing on what you're doing, sniff some cucumber and it may make you feel less claustrophobic and maybe more able to focus on what you need to get done. The last thing I wanted to say about this class is that you're going to notice there are no exams in this class. I really am hoping that you can incorporate some of the things that I'm going to offer you as the quarter goes on to help you to focus and help you to internalize these lessons that you're learning and really see the relationship to your real life so that hopefully you'll try to internalize and benefit from this class. This is one of the few classes I ever get to teach where a person really might directly benefit from what I'm sharing with you. So hopefully scenting your space might be the first thing that you do that will help to improve your functioning in the coming days. So, all right, well, the next time I see you, we'll be in the next chapter.